will begin. All right. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept the humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to our revered speaker for today, His Grace SRIMAN MUKUNDA Prabhu, and all glories to the Assembly of the Vaishnavi devotees. We thank you all for being here as always. It is an honor and a privilege to have His Grace SRIMAN MUKUNDA Prabhu to be with us today. Prabhu has visited us a couple times. He was not the speaker, and he also was with us for a whole 5 days when we were sharing the genesis of ISKCON in West Africa. And that particular sharing was something, like in the Bible, Lord Jesus Christ said that in the past, commandments were written on tablets and it can easily be erased. But in this dispensation, the commandment is going to be written in your hearts, whereby it can never be erased. So that sharing was that was written in our hearts, and it's going to be very difficult to be erased. We are in the material world, anything can happen, but it's going to be very, very difficult. And Prabhuji, we can't thank you enough for rendering such wonderful service. And without further ado, it was coincidental, but somehow it did happen that you are going to start a new chapter with us, because we're studying the Srimad Bhagavatam in chronological order. And today we begin a new chapter, chapter 11. And chapter 11 is a very complex topic, at least to me. It's very difficult. So it's an honor to have your blessings and presence to share this wonderful Krishna Katha with us all. So as you heard, Srila Prabhupada has already finished chanting the Jai Radha Madhava. Some devotees also like to chant the Jai Radha Madhava. If you choose to do that, that is okay. Otherwise, we just go by Srila Prabhupada's Jai Radha Madhava. And then you chant the slokas. Devotees may not respond because it creates
latency.
Echo and things like that. And then you do the translation. There are a number of texts without purports. So I think there are 2 short purports. And then you share your realizations and understanding. And if there is time, devotees may ask some questions. We usually spend like an hour to do the Krishna Katha. And after that, devotees may ask questions if the speaker has some time. So that is what we do. And we may put the verses on the screen and you take it over from here. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
My Dandavat Pranam to all the devotees. And first of all, I'd like to thank Sahadev Prabhu, because I'm also fondly remembering the week that we spent reminiscing on the genesis of the preaching in Africa, and there's so many wonderful devotees who all contributed to the genesis of preaching in Africa. For me, it was a very significant time in my practice in Bhakti. I started practicing Bhakti in 1972, and I think perhaps one of the highlights of the service that we wanted to render to our Srila Prabhupada was coming to Africa and meeting many sincere souls who were already devotees in previous lives, who then re-emerged in Mahaprabhu's movement in Africa and now made the African Yatra what it is today. So I feel really blessed to have had some insignificant role in even being there among such devotees, and especially to yourself and the crew I know that you have, to have brought that to light in that week that we had together. So I'll start with Stav and Stuti, and then we'll go ahead and follow the format of Bhagavatam. Hey Shri Guru Gyana Das Vanadatta Krunai Kasindu Vrindavana Sina Avatara Prasida Siddhara Pranaya Prachara Ajanu Lambito Bujo Kanakavoridato Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamlai Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavayo Yugadama Palo Bande Jagat Priya Karo Karuna Avataro Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hemam Devachcha Vishundaraya Tasmaya Shri Chaitanya Chandra Namo Namaste Kasturi Tilakam Lalata Patale Vaksina Kaustavam Sagri Paramuktikam Karatri Venu Karakankanam Sava Angari Chandanam Salalitam Kantam Muktavali Rajastrio Parivesito Vijayate Gopal Chudamani He Shisham Sundara Shikara Shekara Smira Hashamili Manohara Radhika Rasika Mama Kripanidi Sapriya Charana Kinkaring Kuru Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyai Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Vajami Radha Ravinda Netram Smarami Radha Madhura Smitasyam Vadhami Radha Karuna Varajam Tato Manasti Gati Nakapi Bhakita Vihino Yaparada Lakshay Shiptasya Kamadi Tarangamaji Kripamai Twang Sharanang Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Kanaka Jaladagatro Nila Saubhagya Netro Mrigu Maravarabalu Malati Kundamalo Tarvana Tarvana Vesho Nilampitam Bharesho Smaranini Britini Kunje Radhika Krishna Chandro Vancha Kalpaturvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Yam Pravajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayana Virhara Katra Juhava Putreti Tam Mayatayo Tarvo Binedus Tam Savabhutaridaya Muninam Natoshmi. So we are, as Prabhuji mentioned, in the 11th canto, and this is the first verse of the 11th canto. So I'll go ahead and do the verses and Srila Prabhupada's purports, where there are those, and then I'll come back and begin to give some shape and form to the discussion for today. As Prabhuji mentioned, I'll just chant the verses going through sequentially, because if we try to repeat, there'd be an echo and so forth and so on. So, Maitreya Uvacha Charamaha Sad Visheshanam Aneko Samyutaha Sada Paramanuhu Savigneyo Nenamaitya Brahmoyata. So Maitreya Vacha, Maitreya said, Chamaraha, ultimate, Sat, effect, Visheshanam, symptoms, Anekaha, innumerable, Asamyuktaha, unmixed, Sada, always, Parama Anuhu, atoms, Saha, that, Vigning Yaha, should be understood, Niranam, of men, Aikya, oneness, Brahma, mistaken, Yataha, from which. Translation and purport of Srila Prabhupada. The material manifestation's ultimate particle, which is indivisible and not formed into a body, is called the atom. It exists always as an invisible identity. Even after the dissolution of all other forms, the material body is but a combination of such atoms, but it is misunderstood by the common man. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The atomic description of the Srimad Bhagavatam is almost the same as the modern science of atomism, and is further described in the Paramanuvad of Kanda. So Kanda is actually one sage who, there's 6 philosophical schools in India, and one is called Vaishesik. There is the atomic theory is described by Kanda Rishi. In modern science also, the atom is accepted as the ultimate indivisible particle of which the universe is composed. Srimad Bhagavatam is the full text of all descriptions of knowledge, including the theory of atomism. The atom is the minute, subtle form of eternal time. Next verse. Satta eva padartasya sarupa avishtasya yat kaivalyam paramamahan avishesho nirantara. I'll just read the translations now. Atoms are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own forms without forming different bodies, they are called unlimited oneness. There are certainly different bodies in physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. Evam kalo api anumita shukshmye shtulye chashatama shamshtana bhuktya bhagavan avyakto vyakta bhuk vibhu. One can estimate the time by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the potency of the almighty personality of Godhead, Hari, who controls all physical movement, although he is not visible in the physical world. Shakalaha paramanu vai yobungte paramanutam sato visheshabhugyastu shakala paramoman. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time, which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms, is called the Great Time. Srila Prabhupada's purport here. Time and space are two correlative terms. Time is measured in terms of its covering a certain space of atoms. Standard time is calculated in terms of the movement of the sun. The time covered by the sun is passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. The greatest time of all covers the entire existence of the non-dual manifestation. All the planets rotate and cover space, and space is calculated in terms of atoms. Each planet has its particular orbit for rotating, in which it moves without deviation, and similarly, the sun has its orbit. The complete calculation of time of creation, maintenance, and dissolution, measured in terms of the circulation of the total planetary system until the end of creation, is known as the supreme Kala. Kala also means time. So before we begin, I want to give some shape and context to Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses, 335 chapters, 100 sections of narratives. These can only be understood in the theology coming from Mahaprabhu by the Vichardhara, it's called, or the line of conception of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The book which gives the fullest explanation of the conceptions of Mahaprabhu is called Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are many biographies and narrations, including by Vyasadeva himself, in the form of Vrindavan Das Thakur, of Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu's Leela. But the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is 11,519 verses, this is not counting purports and commentaries, is the most full description of the theological teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can only understand Srimad Bhagavatam through that conception. So with all of that volume of knowledge, what to speak of all the commentaries, like the Bhavarta Deepika of Srila Sridhar Swami, this is the first commentary in Bhagavatam, then all the subsequent commentaries by our acharyas, like the Brihad Vaishnav Toshin of Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami's commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladevi. So there's just such a volume of knowledge. If you don't set out a line of thought and create a perspective of how this is related to me in my aspirations in bhakti, then the Srimad Bhagavatam can become an academic study. There are several academicians who also study Bhagavatam. There are people who study Srimad Bhagavatam for the purpose of practicing Dharma, leading to material wealth, so they can enjoy themselves and finally maybe obtain liberation. So there's so many different motives for studying Srimad Bhagavatam. If you have come in the Hare Krishna movement under the auspices of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, your purpose in studying Srimad Bhagavatam should align with what is pure bhakti. Pure bhakti is described anya abhilasita sunya jnana kamari anavritam anukulyena krishnanusilanam bhaktir uttam. Uttam bhakti is the giving up of any other desire that is not in line with what is anukul, means favorable to serving Krishna. So when we look at Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is an intrinsic part of our practice, we have to look how these verses align with allowing me to get realization of doing nothing but pure bhakti. So that's our context for studying Srimad Bhagavatam. In light of that, we have to look at all of the verses according to a system that was set up by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Vichara. Vichara means conception in general, but there's a specific way to use Vichara to study scripture. Dandavadishwar Prabhu. So there's a particular way to study. So that is mentioned that the way you study any scripture, if you're coming in the line of Mahaprabhu, is to analyze 6 things step by step. Upakrama, upasanghar, I'll mention them in English in a minute. Abhyas, apurvata phalam, artavad upapati, tat lingam, lingam tat paryaninoy. So here it means, the word upakrama means take the very first statement of any book, or the first collection of statements describing what the sastra is about. Upasanghara means then take the last statement. That means the last verse or last statement of that sastra. Abhyas means you need to create a line of consistency of purpose between those first statements and the last statement. That's called abhyas. Then those statements should, apurvata means something previously unrealized. You should come to a realization that you previously didn't have. Phalam means the fruit. So fruit means the realization. Artavad means the meaning. So apurvata, phalam, artavad. A unique realization bearing a unique fruit should enter your heart by the following of these conceptions. And then upapati means there should be examples of it. So reading the scriptures, we should see examples of the very thing that the sastra is purporting to teach. So what is the very first statement of Srimad Bhagavatam? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So let me give a little history first of all. Srimad Bhagavatam was not just first written by Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam already exists eternally as the Omkara. The Omkara means A-U-M. It's not O-M. In English, we write O-M. But actually, it's A-U-M. And then there's a Chandra Bindi. So the meaning here is Akar. It's just written in Chaitanya Charitamrita. If anybody wants references from what I'm saying, I'll try to quote where you can find it. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Madhya Lila chapter 8, it's mentioned there. Akara Krishna means the A means Krishna. Ukara, Radhika. M means the jiva themselves. The Chandra, the little line like a half moon with a dot, means praying. So the goal of all existence, which is found in the Omkara, means Radha, Krishna, their praying, and the jiva's ability to serve it. This is the actual encapsulation of the meaning of Om. You cannot understand that unless you will be saranagit or surrendered. So he says, Om Namo. The word Namo means Namaha. Namaha literally means Na ahamameti. Not about I and mine. Not about my self-interest, but about serving God. You cannot serve God if you maintain your own self-interest. This is the meaning of Anya Abhilas Sita Sunya. Be void of any other desire except the desire to serve Krishna. So we can only do that when we give up our self-interest by doing saranagati. The jivas themselves can only do 3 things as far as surrender is concerned. The first is the emotional desire to be surrendered. That is called prapati. The next thing is to act on that. The action is twofold. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya vivajana. Means to do whatever is favorable for serving Krishna and to give up or avoid anything that's unfavorable. Everything else is done by Krishna himself. Rakshishati Vishwas Goptare Varanam Tata all is done by Bhagavan himself. So Vyasadeva is stating Om, then Namaha, I'm being surrendered. To whom? Om Namo Bhagavate. That person who's God himself, who is that? Vasudevaya. So he's off, Aya in Sanskrit means unto. So he's offering all of this unto Vasudev. Vasudev in Sanskrit with a long A means Krishna himself. Vasudev means his father. So onto that son of Vasudev, who's called Vasudev with a long A. Then he says, who is this Krishna? Who is this person that I am surrendering to? Janmadhyasya yataha anvayat itarachas artisu abhigyasara. This is the first verse of Bhagavatam. So we're establishing the upakram, the opening statements of Bhagavatam. Because you can only understand what Maitreya Rishi is speaking to Vidura if you have that context. So he tells that this Krishna, Janmadhyasya yataha, the entire creation has come from him only. Itarachas anvayat itaratas. Both directly and indirectly, it means by Krishna's own will, but also by his energy or Shakti. So the whole creation, indirectly and directly, is only coming from Krishna. Arteshu, what is the purpose of this manifest creation? Abhigya, that knowledge of the realization that Krishna is the ultimate cause, controller, that Krishna is everything, and that the jiva is his servant. Abhigya swarat. This knowledge should be obtained. So arteshu means the meaning of this verse, and abhigya means that knowledge. Swarat is another synonym for Krishna himself, because Krishna doesn't have any other cause besides himself. Therefore, he's called Swarat. So this opening statement is saying that the entire goal of Srimad Bhagavatam in relation to the jivas is that they will first understand that Krishna Sava Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes, including myself and all other jivas, and our duty in relation to that is to become his servant. So that's the opening statement, presenting what is the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. He first spoke this knowledge openly to Sri Brahmaji, who is the head of our Sampradaya. In 4 verses, he encapsulated the Omkara. I'm not going to go over all the verses there because we will not have time. These verses are called the Chatur Shloki. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the 2nd canto, chapter 9, text 33 to 36, is the first speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam directly by Krishna himself to Lord Brahma. So Omkar is the origin. Then the first expansion of that is Krishna speaking to Brahma, these 4 verses. These 4 verses are the same verses that Vyasadeva is speaking, just in different language. So I won't go over the Chatur Shloki because we wouldn't have time. So now, Vyasadeva himself, he was commissioned or empowered to compile and organize all Sastra. So in Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned there, Vedas Chasavara Hema Vejo, Vedanta Vit, Vedakrit, Eva Chaham. So in this verse, 3 things are mentioned. One is the goal of all Vedic knowledge, which is Krishna himself, because he says, by all the Vedas, I am to be known. Then it says, I am also the knower of the Vedas. So here the word knower of the Vedas means that person who knows Krishna best. And who knows Krishna better than Srimati Radharani? No one. Therefore, her love is generated from her realizations of Krishna. Nobody's realization of how to love Krishna is greater than Radharani. But a 3rd category is mentioned here. Vedanta Krit. The word Krit means to do something. So Vyasadeva was empowered to compile the Vedas. So he did yeoman's work. He took one Veda and made it into 4 divisions, Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. Then he extracted all the philosophical teachings, the Aranyakas and the Upanishads. He then compiled the Itihas, means a history, in the form of Mahabharata. Then he took all of the Puranas and divided them into sections according to the modes of nature. He made 10 Puranas, which are completely in the mode of goodness. Among them, the most superior is Srimad Bhagavatam. He then delineated all that knowledge to various disciples for dissemination. He gave the Puranas to Romaharshan to disseminate to the sages. I'm paraphrasing and putting a long story short, to give to the sages at Namasharanya. Now, there was a problem here. What's the problem? That after Vyasadeva had done all of this yeoman's work in getting all the sastras together, still he was feeling some void. So then Narada Muni came to Samprasasram, which is the ashram of Vyasadeva in the Himalayas, and in speaking to Vyasadeva, he analyzed, I know what your problem is. What is your problem? Though you've compiled all of these scriptures, though you've done yeoman's work in this regard, you never established the ultimate goal of all of these scriptures. Therefore, people will take the scriptures and get all kinds of meaning from them. They'll do all kinds of activities in the name of scripture for their sense gratification. So unless you give something which clearly defines the purpose of all scriptures, then your work is not complete. So then Vyasadeva, well, how will I accomplish this? So then Narada Muni explains in 10 verses how he should practice bhakti yoga to realize the ultimate goal of all of these scriptures. Vyasadeva takes this meaning to heart. He accepts Narada Muni as his Shiksha Guru. Then he sits down. Bhakti yogena monosi samyak pratile amale apashat purusham puranam mayayam upasvitam. Bhakti yogena monosi. He sits down and in his meditation, he begins to meditate on bhakti yoga, which he was instructed to do by Nard. That same instruction was given to Brahma by Krishna himself. He told him also that you should practice bhakti yoga. You understand? So after he heard the word tapasya, Brahmaji, he understood that to mean do saranagati. From there, he began practicing bhakti yoga. So bhakti yoga is the means to understand the real teachings of all sastra, but especially this Srimad Bhagavatam. So now Vyasadeva does his meditation, apashat purusham purnam, and he sees everything in context. What is the meaning of all the sastras? So then he concludes, and he begins writing with the verse that I just quoted. But then he also states, this Srimad Bhagavatam is all other sastra. First of all, it is directly Krishna himself. Tulya Bhagavata Krishna Vibhu Savasrai, Pratishloke Pratyakshari Nanatakai. The Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the very form of Krishna himself. So it is non-different. All scriptures describe Krishna, but Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna Swarup. It's directly Krishna himself. So actually there's a story in Padma Puran that the demigods, they were having a discussion about this. And he said, how can you say any book is directly Bhagavan himself? It may talk about Bhagavan, but how you can say the book is Bhagavan? So they went to Lord Brahma and said, listen, this issue came up and we were having a discussion on it. And so now we're trying to understand how you will say that the Srimad Bhagavatam is directly Krishna himself. So then Brahma told this verse, Tulya Bhagavata Krishna Vibhu Sabasrai, that every verse, every akshara, means every letter, has unlimited meanings. How can it be like that unless it's directly the unlimited Bhagavan himself, Shri Krishna? So then the demigods went back and said, okay, but wait a minute. Krishna's form is so beautiful. So even though Krishna is unlimited and Srimad Bhagavatam has unlimited meanings, how can we then still adjust and say it's the very form of Bhagavan? So when the demigods went back again to Brahma, they said, listen, the issue is not solved because you've not described how this book is the form of Bhagavan. Then he quotes a very famous verse, I'm telling in English. The first two cantos of this Bhagavatam are the two lotus feet of Krishna. The third and fourth cantos of this Bhagavatam are Krishna's legs. The fifth canto of this Bhagavatam is Krishna's navel. The sixth canto is his chest. The seventh and eighth canto are his arms. The ninth canto is his neck. The 10th canto is the beauty of Sri Krishna's face itself. The 11th canto, where Krishna's mind is situated. And in the 11th canto, all the teachings about practicing bhakti are taught. And the 12th canto is Sirasa, it means the top of his head. You understand? So in this way, he described to the demigods, this Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. Not only that, but it is the compilation of all of the Sastra. Artam Brahma Sutranam, Bhat Artha Vinayanoya. That the Vedanta Sutra, which is the conclusion of all Vedic knowledge, that itself is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhat Artha Vinayanoya. That the Mahabharata, which is the history, itihas. The word itihas means iti ahasa, something described exactly as it happened. So itihas or history is different from Puranas. In Sanskrit, Purana means pura api navam, something that's ancient but has relevance today. So this is how the Puranas are couched. So, but the teachings of Mahabharata and the Ramayana, which is the other itihasa, are all present in Srimad Bhagavatam. Gayatri Bhasha Ruposo, the secret transcendental mantra, which is Gayatri mantra, is fully explained in Bhagavatam, even in the first verse. Satyam Paramadimahi. And Vedata Paribrimita. If you want the definition of the four Vedas used in all kinds of spiritual contexts, the meanings are in this Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, it's established that what Vyasadeva realized after doing his meditation was different than prior to when he manifested all the Puranas and all of the Sastras. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is called Grantaraj. Of all scriptures, it is the king. And every single other Sastra is present in this Srimad Bhagavatam. He's stating that the purpose of this Bhagavatam is to develop pure devotion. So in the second verse of Bhagavatam, he declares, if you're studying Bhagavatam for any other reason, Dharma projita kaitavotra, that it will be cheating yourself and cheating the purpose of Bhagavatam. Kaitava means cheating. Therefore, any other Dharma except pure bhakti has been pra-ujita, means completely removed from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So then who is eligible to study Bhagavatam and for what purpose? Paramo nimatsaranam satam. That satam means sadhu, who paramo nimatsara, who is completely free from self-interest. Matsarya means envy, but here envy means self-interest. So any other interest besides serving Krishna, there is no context in Bhagavatam for that. So it's not an academic study. You understand? It's a study on pure devotion. So then he says, yes, now I've given this Bhagavatam, so I'm going to give a blessing. If anyone will study this Bhagavatam seriously, this Bhagavatam was spoken by Shukdev Goswami. So I'm having a question here. Many devotees have asked, if Vyasadeva is the father of Shukdev Goswami and taught him Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, he is the guru of that Vyasadeva. How is it possible that they let Shukadev Goswami sit on the asasan to give Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, and here your Guru Dev and your father, who's like your guru, is sitting before you? Why is it that Shukadev Goswami was the speaker of Bhagavatam? And you should give praman. So I'm opening the floor just to answer this question, but if you say it, you should give praman. All right, I'm telling. Yes, this is one praman. So it says Sri Sukuvacha, Srila Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada means Sri Yukta Shuka. Sri here means Radhika. He's the parrot of Radhika. And also in other sastra like Bhava Sara Sangraha, it's mentioned there. Vichakshin, Bhagavat Artha Kovido, the parrot named Vichakshin, who's the parrot of Radhika, was asked to stay in this world in order to reveal Bhagavatam. Why? Because the Shuka, the Krita Shuk, means the play parrot of Radha and Krishna. Does he know all of the pastimes of Krishna intimately? Yes. So that parrot was asked to stay in this world to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. That parrot is the very Shukadev Goswami. You understand? Who's the son of Vyas. Understand? So now, he mentioned Shukamukhat Amrita Dravya Samhitam. After coming from the mouth of Shukadev Goswami, the Bhagavatam, which is the mature fruit of all Vedic knowledge, has become Dravya. The word Dravya means Ros. I'm telling you an example. When I was preaching in Africa and Zambia, in the preaching center that we had, there were so many avocado trees and mango trees, and we could not keep up with the volume of growth. So the mangoes used to begin to fall on the ground. And so the Indian ladies who live very near the temple, they told us just gather all of the mangoes and give them to us. So we did that. We'd get them and put them in a big garbage bag and give them to all the Indian ladies. They would sit together and talk, and they would squeeze all of the mango juice out, throw the seeds away, put it in small plastic bags and freeze it. And then they would add cardamom and a little bit of cumin and a slight bit of sugar. And this is called mango ros. So in that same way, Shukdev Goswami, by biting the fruit of Bhagavatam himself, made it into dravya, means rasa. So then he says, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasayam Alayam. So he's saying, now I'm giving this Bhagavatam to everyone to taste this rasa. But there's a problem. Everyone is not qualified to taste ras. So let me explain why. Because it's mentioned by Rupa Goswami Pad. Vyatiti bhavana vatma yastamakara bahu. Ridi ujjale sattvam. Rasa means that thing which is the direct combination of ingredients relating to realized consciousness in regard to your relationship with Krishna. If we've not reached that level yet, it is difficult to taste rasa. You understand? So it says, Ridaya ujjala ridaya sattvam. When the heart is illuminated by Suddha Sattva, means pure spiritual energy, then it can contain rasa. But now there's a quandary here. Vyasadeva is giving the blessing because the third verse is called the Ashibad verse or Falstuti verse. He's giving a blessing. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasayam. So the word alayam here is important because the word alayam means even if you've not realized everything yet, this rasa will work as a rasayan, means like a medicine to purify your consciousness to allow you to taste rasa in the future. Then Vyasadeva had another quandary. Wait a minute. But having seen everything in perspective, I now know that in the future, the Kali Yuga is coming. And in this degraded age, this very degraded age of Kali Yuga, there'll be many problems. How will the jivas in this Kali Yuga be able to get to the point where they could taste this rasa of Bhagavatam? So on the last line, he says, aho. In Sanskrit, aho is like when you get an epiphany about something, or when you get a sudden realization, right? Aho. So he says, aho. Rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. Even in the future, rasik, bhavuk means those devotees who are fully capable to take ras, like Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Parapadma, so many stalwart devotees. Aho, mahur, mahur means again and again. Rasika bhuvi bhavikaha, those devotees will be walking the earth. And I'm giving you the blessing, Vyasadeva is saying, that you will meet one. So now we've done Upakrama, the opening statements of Bhagavatam, determining its purpose. Upasanghar, what is the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam in the 12th canto? Nama sankirtaniyasa sava papa pranasanam. Pranamo dukkha samanas tannamim haring param. So in the last verse, he concludes, yes, in order to get the glory of this Bhagavatam and to realize it, you will have to come in the Leela of Mahaprabhu. So then he takes in the last verse, he gets the darshan of Mahaprabhu. And when he gets this darshan, he writes this verse, Nama Sankirtana Yasya Sava Papa Pranasanam. So all of the sins that will come from the degraded age of Kali Yuga, they will all be uprooted by Nam Sankirtan given by Mahaprabhu. Because Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan also contains praying. So it will completely uproot all sinful life and completely establish in the heart of the Bada Jivas of this world that very Krishna praying, which was the goal of this Srimad Bhagavatam. Immediately after he wrote that verse, he put his pen down, he himself entered into Gaur Leela, and he became Vrindavan Das Thakur and began continuation of Bhagavatam in the form of Chaitanya Bhagavat. You understand? So this is the Upakram. Upasanghar means this is the last statement. Everything we read in between that has to connect these two realities. The purpose of Bhagavatam is pure devotion. Pure devotion will only come from Mahaprabhu. And everything that's written in Bhagavatam from point A to the last point is all to make this fact known. So he's giving 100 different stories, 335 chapters, and 18,000 verses just to explain these points. Now, coming to today's verses. Now he's coming to speak that once there was a very great devotee named Vidura. Vidura was a member of the Kaurava dynasty, but his birth circumstances, I'm not going into all Mahabharata here because it will take too long, but his birth circumstance was not like that of his brothers. Therefore, he could not actually become a ruler among the Kauravas, but he was given great adoration and great respect because of his learning, except from the son of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhan, and Dushashan. So, though Vidura was a great devotee, great learned scholar, everything, still he was not given the proper respect. So, long story short, he'll leave the house of the Kauravas and begin to travel to the holy places and completely absorbed in bhakti, remembering his Ishtadev Shri Krishna. On his travels, he came to Prabhasetra. In Prabhasetra, which is the place where the Yadu dynasty ended its pastimes, and Krishna ended his pastimes through the Mosala Lila, at that time he saw Uddhava coming from there. And he met Uddhava, and he asked Uddhava, in so many verses, please tell me about the Yadu dynasty. What is the status of Arjun, all of these different persons? And he asked first about them, his own family members. Then he asked about the Krishna's family. How is Yashoda's Nanda? How's Vasudev, Devaki, etc.? How is the sons of Krishna? Then finally he asked about Krishna himself. And at that time, Uddhava, who was so close to Krishna, he's described, Vrishninam Paravo Mantri, Krishna Daita Saka. He is so close to Krishna, he can even be an advisor to Bhagavan himself. When Krishna wanted to console the residents of Vrindavan when he left, Gachav Uddhava Somyam, Priti Avaro Namaha, Mad Gopi Viyoga Dim, Matsindashaya Vimochaya. He sent Uddhava only. How glorious is Uddhava? So when Uddhava was coming and he met Vidura, and Vidura made this inquiry, immediately the heart of Uddhava became deeply immersed in remembering Krishna. So the first chapters, or the last chapters, previously described his description of all Krishna's activities that he was doing in remembrance. But then he came to a point and he realized, listen, very nearby is the sage Maitreya. When Krishna was performing his last pastimes, Maitreya Rishi was also there, and he heard all of this katha. Because he's senior to me by age, then it would be Mayada Vyatikrama for me to keep speaking while I know he's present. So I suggest that you can go to him to hear all of the rest of the katha. Also, Uddhava had been given an order by Krishna to go to Butter Creek Ashram, where Nara and Narayan Rishi and all the sages were assembled, and speak this katha to them. So he was on his way there, first stopping in Dwarka, when he met Vidura. So now Vidura approaches Maitreya, and when he approaches Maitreya, he begins to ask so many questions to Maitreya, and Maitreya Rishi begins his discussion by describing what he heard of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam has 10 categories. The creation, the secondary creation by Brahma, Saga Visagascha, Sthana, how Bhagavan maintains the creation, Utta, what is the purpose of the creation? Sthana Posna Uttaya, Manavata Ishanukata, how Krishna appeared in different incarnations in different manus and performed leelas. Manavata Ishanukata, Nirod, how the creation is wound up due to the influence of time. Mukti, what is the meaning of liberation? And Asraya, what is the ultimate shelter of the jivas? He's beginning this discussion on Bhagavatam by describing what is time. So this is not a description of atomic theory. You understand? That's not the interest here. He's beginning his discussion by describing that the time factor, which manifests first as the atom, is non-different from Bhagavan himself. This is his purpose in describing time. Andantra Paramanu Chantrastaham. The Kshirodakshai Vishnu, or the super soul, is present in every atom. The power in the atom is coming from Bhagavan. So he's beginning by describing the nature of Kal Shakti, or time, and how time works. Why is this important? Because time, as it passes, becomes the metric by which we can measure how much time we have to do what Bhagavatam's purpose is, which is to become realized about Krishna Prem. So he's describing the influence of time in the material world and how it works, and the fact that it's also God. It's not something different. This time is also Bhagavan and also Bhagavan Shakti. I remember when I was preaching in Ghana, devotees, I went to Kumasi, and when I was about to leave, devotees, I think I mentioned this in the Genesis of Africa week-long discussion, they had gotten a piece of gold from Kumasi, and they had made a ring for me. And on the ring was the symbol Jinyami. So in the Twi language, this word Jinyami means except God. So actually, it's almost like the Omkar in the sense that that symbol means there's nothing but God. You understand? There is no other reality. Krishna is the Satyam Parama Dhimahi. He is the worthy Satya or truth to be meditated upon because there is nothing else but God and God's energy. We're part of that energy. Our duty as part of that energy is to develop pure love for God. The highest form of love for God is displayed by Srimati Radharani, the head of all gopis. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he summarized his 5 commentaries on the first verse of Bhagavatam in a book called Chaitanya Manjusa. There he gave a description of the ultimate purpose of all of the jivas, especially those who are practicing bhakti. It's the ultimate purpose of everyone, but especially those who've come to the path. What is their particular outlook? So he says, Aradjo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tat Dhamma Vrindavanam. The whole purpose is to worship the son of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan to the mood of Aradjo Bhagavan. So here there's a very special meaning to the word Aradjo Bhagavan. Aradhya means to worship. Who was the greatest worshiper of Krishna? I'll allow some unmuting to answer.
Can I say Srimati Radharani?
Sahadev ki jai. So here he's saying Aradhya Bhagavan means Radhika actually. Aradhya Bhagavan is Radhika because Radha and Krishna are really one person who've taken 2 forms. This is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Radha Krishna Achayi Sada Eki Sarup. Actually, Radha and Krishna are one person. Leela Rasa Asudite Dari Duiru. They've taken 2 forms to enjoy Leelas together through the pleasure potency. But they're one person. So Radhika is actually Bhagavan. We should not think that Radhika is a jiva or something. She's Bhagavan Shakti, the Mool Shakti. Understand? And how can God be God if he has no power? So Radhika is that power. You understand? So Aradhya Bhagavan Rajesha Tanayas Tat Dhamma Brahma. Rajisha means Nanda Maharaj here. His son should be worshipped. How? Ramyas Kastiru Pasna Vrajavadu Vagena Yakalpita. The highest mood of that love was demonstrated by the Braj Ramanis, means the gopis, headed by Radhika. Then he says, this is the important part, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. The spotless proof of what I'm saying here is mentioned in Bhagavatam. Prem Pramartha Mahan, the highest goal is to obtain this kind of prem. Then he says something very unique and special and powerful. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Mattamidam. I accept this as the opinion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Na tatra adro na paraha. Adara means respect or regard. I don't give any regard or respect to any other opinion that does not align with this opinion of Mahaprabhu. If we are followers of Mahaprabhu, what is our opinion regarding study of Srimad Bhagavatam? The goal is praying Pramato Mahan. The highest kind of praying was manifest by Rajo Bhagavan Shri Radhika. You understand? So this is our vision. Actually, Maitreya Rishi is going to get to this point because he's going to describe in several verses. That's why it's very important to keep a context of the verses, because his one description in these 4 verses about time from the atom is not what he's trying to display. He's trying to speak about the glory of God, who's himself time. And then he's going to go on to describe the creation. Then he's going to go on to describe the activities of Bhagavan. He's going to go all the way to the point of describing how Bhagavan appears, first by the cursing of the 4 Kumaras. Therefore, he's going to appear as Varahadev. Then he's going to describe Kapila Devahuti Samvad. and all the teachings of Kapila Dev, including about devotional service. So when you look at Maitreya Vidura conversation in context, this part here is only an introduction to describe how Bhagavan himself creates the world through the time factor. It's not really a teaching on atomic theory and so forth. So we can go down that road and we can give some analysis of those things. But in context, overall, the purpose for us in studying this is to realize Prema Bhakti. So we have to follow his chain of discussion to its end, where he describes devotional service in Devahuti Kampila Samvad, where he describes the love of Jai and Vijay. Because in the 16th chapter is going to be the discussion about how much love Narayan has for Jai and Vijay, which is a whole unique Leela. The Shringa Prahalad Leela is completely unique because it's one of the first introductions to what is love. If you don't understand love in the Shringa Prahalad Charit, you will not catch it in the 10th canto in the Ras Leela. You have to first understand it here. This is why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even at Radha Kund, he used to speak Narasingha Prahalad Charit. Gadadhar Pandit at Tota Gopinath, to Mahaprabhu and his associates, used to speak Prahalad Narasingha Charit, because there's so much what is love in that Leela. You just have to hear it properly and everything, and you'll grasp. The picture, just like I mentioned, when I first went to the temple in 1972, the temple was so beautiful in Brooklyn. But when I was about to exit to come out, I saw that picture of Nrsingadev with Hiranyakasipu on his lap, tearing him apart and putting the intestines around his neck. And I was thinking, wow, this is extremely, extremely different from all the other things I'm seeing. But that picture is the epitome of love, because he's glorifying how Jai took the body of Hiranyakasipu in order to give pleasure to Bhagavan in what is called Viros. So much love is in this Leela. You understand? So this is the context of reading Srimad Bhagavatam for us. I'm going to end with this. Srila Rupa Goswami said there are 5 things out of 64 angas of bhakti that are most important for us. 1, Nam Kirtan. Because Harinam, the Kirtan of Nam and the Japa of Nam, can purify even the most wretched person. Just like Ajamil, even by saying a name unintentionally, he was purified and saved, even though he was so corrupt in his life. So that name can affect even the most lowly person, and also it's the highest form of taste, because in that Nam, the Mahamantra, is all of Krishna's Shakti and all Leelas. Mahaprabhu himself told, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti, all powers in this name. Then he says, Nam Kirtan Sadhu Sangha. When you have some appreciation of the name, approach a sadhu. When you approach the sadhu, then Guru Parasraya Tata Diksha Shikshari. Take Diksha, take initiation, hear from that sadhu. You understand? Develop Vishramba Seva towards Guru, because the mood you develop towards Guru will be the genesis of your mood towards Radha and Krishna Mahaprabhu. Then he says, Bhagavat Shravan. Then hear from the sadhu Bhagavat Katha. When you hear Bhagavat Katha, the mood of loving Krishna like the Brijabasis will come in your heart. So he says, Nam Kirtan, Sadhu Sangha, Bhagavat Shravan. Maturavas means Brajbas, means allow the mood coming from Bhagavatam to enter your heart. When you have that mood, Shri Murtaya Shradai Sevan, then you should serve your deities with that mood. If you serve the deities with no mood, this will become, Rupa Goswami says, Niyama Agraha. It means ritualistic, because there's no actual mood there. Understand? So these 5 things are the most important angas of bhakti, and among them is Bhagavat Shravan. So the whole purpose for us, our contextual relationship with Bhagavatam, is based on this. So I will end here to give opportunity for devotees to share. There are many esteemed devotees on. I see Srivas Prabhu, I see Ishvara Prabhu, other devotees. I cannot see the full page, so please forgive me. But I know there are many senior devotees on. I think Bhumipati Prabhu, others. So they may make some corrections if I've made any mistake. And if I've made any mistake, that is completely me. Anything I've said that's auspicious and useful, that is the mercy of my Guru Pada Padma. So any questions or any comments?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful sharing of Krishna Katha. And just like you rightly said, we would like to formally recognize His Grace Shrivas Dasvanachari, who is in the house, and also His Grace Ishwara Prabhu, who is also in the house, and of course, Shriman Varaha Prabhu, who is almost
Oh,
always.
Varaha was here also, I didn't say.
Varaha Prabhu is here too.
And then I think Makana Taskar and Bhumipati is because they're also Prabhupada Sishya. So we'll give some special recognition here because they're our senior.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. In fact, your delivery brings about tons of questions.
All right, let's take half a ton.
Yeah. Even a quarter of ton will still be good for us for a whole month, if not a whole year. We have Her Grace, Mother Gail, please, you may unmute and go ahead to ask your question or share your reflections. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Wow, what a treat to hear from you today. Well, I will have to listen to this recording several times to catch everything. But
I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think that half ton of questions will come from me only. So let me get started. One of the things is I really wasn't able to follow properly when you were saying that this chapter is not about atomic theory. You know, although it describes the atom, I know one of the things you said was that if the atom is, if all the atoms are not divisible or something like that, then you have, what you have is, I guess, basically Krishna or something, some oneness. It was some oneness or something. Remember a statement like that? So
Yes,
that statement I didn't understand, and how this thing is not about atomic theory. I wasn't able to follow that.
So the statement of the oneness, when you look at the collective body of atoms, is made by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. The meaning here is that really it is Kshirodakshay Vishnu himself, means the super soul, same super soul that's in your heart. Andantra Paramanu Chayantrastaham is mentioned in Brahma Samhita. That same Kshirodakshay Vishnu is in every atom. The atom is the indivisible last particle of the material energy. You understand? So everything in the material world is simply a combination of atoms in some kind of form or mutation, etc., etc. Time is a Shakti of God's. It's a power of God's, which is measured by how it is moving over the body of atoms.
Yes.
Understand?
Yeah.
So he starts here, but his overarching description here is not really about atoms and atomic theory. It's to describe that God himself is both the time factor and he is the ultimate manifestation of those atoms. So he's beginning his conversation to Vidura, which he's going to expand on all the way up to the point of devotional service, beginning with understanding that this creation itself is God. That there is no other aspect in the world except God and his energy. That's also, as I mentioned in the first verse of Bhagavatam, Janmadhyasya yataha anviyat itaratas. So he says that Janma adhyasya yataha. Janma means birth or Genesis. Everything is directly or indirectly born from Krishna, who has no origin himself. That's the base meaning. Vishnu Chakravarti gives 5 meanings of this verse, progressively up to the point of pure praying for Krishna. But the first one is to realize the whole material creation is nothing but God. Like I remember, there was some point where I was having some debate with some scientists, and they were trying to say how science should be kept separate from religion, et cetera, et cetera. So I obviously was arguing, no, that's not a fact, because there's nothing in the world that's not God. So they said, well, how can you prove that? So then, most devotees and even most theologians tried to convince people that the only way to see God is to take up the practice of spiritual life. Then by the efficacy of that practice, you'll see God. But actually, in reality, you don't need to do anything except go get a drink of water. Rasoham apsukunteya. Krishna's the taste in water. The very chair you're sitting on is composed of atoms. That's Bhagavan. the land you're walking on, the air you're breathing. Everything is God. So you just have to become conscious of that. If you want to see the transcendental form of God, that is a different story. That requires the practice of religious ideals like bhakti. But God is everywhere.
Yeah, so to say that the atoms are the oneness of God, is it?
Yes,
is
because
that a right? Is that a
ultimately,
proper way to say it? That the atoms are, because the atoms are his Shakti, right?
the atoms are the Shakti itself. Yes. So here, the idea is that Kshirodakshay Vishnu, who's present in every atom, is one person.
Yes.
Actually, Karnodakshay Vishnu means Mahavishnu. Garbhodakshay Vishnu, from where Brahma is born, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu is actually one person doing three functions.
Yes. Yes.
They're not separate persons.
Right.
Ultimately,
right.
they're just expansions of Krishna. So actually, the oneness here is that beginning with Krishna himself and all the incarnations, all these atoms which have Krishna present in them in the form of Kshirodakshay Vishnu are one. So this is the meaning of the oneness here. So that everything is actually God. And then the challenge would be, what isn't God? Either directly or indirectly. Anvayat itaratas means directly, indirectly. What is not God?
Well, we say oneness because Krishna Shakti is him also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got it exactly right.
Okay, Prabhu. Another thing that I didn't follow when you were speaking of the 6 ways of understanding Shastra, right?
Yes.
You have to see the first statement, the last statement, and the consistency between those statements.
Very good. Yes.
But then a third one was, and this is where I'm asking, is that you get a new and unique realization.
Yes. Let me explain
But
it.
that,
Yeah.
because the thing I actually want you to explain is when you said there will be examples of that unique realization.
Right.
Okay.
So this is called vichar, and the first thing is called upakram, means the first opening statements, which I explained. Then I explained the last statement of Bhagavatam, which is the prediction of Mahaprabhu's coming.
Yeah.
So the first statement, which is about pure praying, because the last definition Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives is that this verse means what is pure praying. That praying is experienced in 2 ways, separation and meeting, etc. So I'm not going into those details here because I think it would take too much time. So he establishes pure love of God as the purpose of Bhagavatam. That realization will come from Mahaprabhu. So he establishes that. In between, it's called abhyas. All the different stories that are being told, all the narrations that are being told, are couched to point out these 2 facts. Love of God is the purpose, and that love of God comes from Mahaprabhu. So all the narrations in Bhagavatam speak to some way, form, or fashion about those realities. Let me give an example materially. If we're having a conversation about me building a new house, so me and you are talking, so we've started the conversation, I'm going to build a new house. In the course of that conversation, we start to talk about the cost of materials. Somebody walks in on the conversation at that point and hears us talking about the cost of materials to build a house. And they conclude that our whole conversation is about the
cost of
expense of
materials.
building. Yes. So you've missed the context.
Yes.
So vichar allows a context. So now we have to go back and inform that person. We're not talking about prices of materials. We're talking about building a house. This came up because we need materials to build a house. You get the idea? So this is what is called vichar.
So this vichar, was that like number 3 or out of the 6 ways?
Vichar is the overall conception. 1 is the opening statement. I'm going to say them in English. 2 is the concluding statement. 3 is the connective tissue between those 2. The 4th thing, really, the 3rd and 4th thing really is apurvata, means something unprecedented. So there is no other scripture like SRIMAN Bhagavatam. It's unprecedented. So Vyasadeva admits that this was written in my maturity and there is no other Shastra like it. Therefore, it gives unique realizations. What realization? Love of God. And it gives unique fruit. The fruit is also love of God. So the realization and the fruit are one thing, love of God. Then he says there's examples of it. What examples? Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. Of course, in the 10th canto, the gopis themselves, Radhika, etc. These are all upapatti or examples of those who obtain love of God.
Are those, is that 5?
That's 6. That's actually 6.
That's 6. Okay, well then maybe I missed one. But
Yeah,
anyway, the connective tissue was I don't know, just the various topics within the Bhagavatam that
right, like the topic we're discussing now. That Maitreya Rishi is speaking to Vidura about the atom, but he's saying how the atoms are actually the final material manifestation of Bhagavan himself in this world.
But would you is this different, or is this a you know, the Bhagavatam has the 10 categories, right?
Yes, I mentioned those.
Is that different from this?
No, this is Sarga. He's speaking Sarga now. Sarga is the first category. Sarga Visargascha. He's gonna after this, he's gonna speak about Brahma and Brahma's contribution. That's called Visarga.
Yeah.
So he's going in order. He's speaking the Bhagavatam in order. But did he let me also, because devotees will become a little upset with me, and there's devotees like Varah and others.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, MUKUNDA. Mother Gail.
But I'll come back, Gail. I'll come back.
Yeah, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, please come back, because I just had one last thing.
Okay, I'll come back.
All right. Your questions and cloud means that you have to re-listen to this kata, as we all should.
She listened well. I mean, she.
Yeah. I was very much impressed. Her power of hearing and recollection. You know, it's very interesting. We'll come back to you, Mother Gail. Shuma Madha Prabhu, please you may unmute.
That was short thing. Just to catch Prabhu's
okay. All right.
levels of understanding.
Yes.
I put it on the chat. So those 6 things on the
Yes.
In the chat.
Oh, yes. I already screenshotted that. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhu. Varahadev?
Yeah.
Dandava Pranam.
Dandava Prabhuji.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We're very much blessed with your presence here today. And it's a treat hearing you, Prabhu. So very philosophical, so much to take on. But my question it relates with the part that really touched me, you know, and that is how to study the Bhagavatam, and that the Bhagavatam, when we read the text, we have to see in what way does it help me. In what way does this help me to develop love of Krishna? In what way does this help me? So I really love that. In what way does it connect with me? Because we can be studying the Bhagavatam like some treatise, some academic thing, but when we become concerned about how it helps us to develop love of God, that becomes really interesting, and then we can listen, and then we can absorb. Now, my question is in that light, and sounds like a simple question, but at the same time, it's intriguing and it can be very bewildering. When we hear that, we are energy of Krishna, we also hear that we are eternal part and parcel of Krishna. And then again, we hear that we have to develop love for Krishna. So you start wondering, because sometimes we use this analogy of the body. So we have the members of the body, they are part of the whole, and then they work for the satisfaction of the whole. But if we have to use the same analogy, then it becomes absurd to think of part of the body not working for the benefit of the body, or wanting to have to develop love for the body. It's part of the body. To love the body, which is sustenance. That's the only way it can live. That's the only way it can survive. So So that is that's what is a bit mind-boggling, that unless, well, if we have to say that everything is lila, our so-called forgetfulness of God, and everything is lila, because this creation and annihilation is going on eternally. So it's what Krishna wants. But having to bother our head and have to struggle, austerity, and many things to be able to develop love of God, when we are part of Him, we are eternally part of Him. Where is energy? How come the energy? How come the energy will forget or act differently from its source? It's mind-boggling. So can you help me? That is I'm relating this to how to study Bhagavatam, and
Yes,
seeing how this can help me in
yes.
developing for Krishna. That's what I'm asking.
Very good question. Very good question. So Krishna's energies are described. Parasha Shakti Vidvidaiva Sriyate. Krishna has unlimited energies. And those energies are all in different categories. So one energy is called Jiva Shakti. Jiva Shakti is the energy of Krishna. The Atmas are the individual parts of that energy with their own identities. Those Jiva Shakti who are manifest in the Srishti Lila, means the material Lila of Krishna, they are not endowed with what is called Swarup Shakti, or the internal energy. Sometimes a synonym for it is Chit Shakti. So those jivas who are here, they are Shakti of Bhagavan, Mamavam So, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatanam. But they're not endowed with Swarup Shakti. So what is Swarup Shakti? Swarup Shakti is composed of three things. Sandini means pure spiritual existence. Samvit means full cognition of our relation to Krishna. And Ladini means the pleasure derived from the nature of love of God due to that cognition. The jivas within the tatashta, means the middle potency of God, they have been from anadikal, means time without any beginning, subject to the influence of the external energy. This separated material energy is very powerful. It exerts an influence on those jivas who are not endowed with Swarup Shakti. When they come under that influence, and Srimad Bhagavatam 11:22:10, it mentions Anadi Avidya Yuktasha. They become bound from Anadi Kal to this Avidya Shakti. Anadi Avidya Yuktasha Purushasha Vedatmanam Swato Na Sambhavanti, and they cannot free themselves. Anya requires another, Ganato Ganadobhavet. It requires Sadhu Guru, who is situated beyond the influence of the modes of nature and the material energy, and is imbued with Swarup Shakti in order to pull a person out of the Avidya Shakti. Now, a big question will arise, well, wait a minute. There's also jivas who are Nitya Siddha, means they are eternal associates of Bhagavan in the spiritual world who've never been conditioned by the material world. So is that fair? Is that fair that some jivas manifested in the Srishti Lila and they're not endowed with Swarup Shakti, and therefore, quote, they had to suffer, etc. Is this fair? So now we have to study the books of our acharyas. Srila Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions you must study the books of our Guru Vargas. So in the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jivadam, he's clarified all these things. One is, have the jivas actually suffered in this world? I'm going to answer. Jiva Goswami says not possible. In Paramatma Sandarbha, he describes 21 qualities of the Jiva Shakti, the Atma. Among them is Chid Ananda Atmaka. By very nature, the jivas in this world, the Atmas, are dukkha pratiyogita, means they're adverse, or they're the opposite of what is misery. So the jivas are not suffering except by vicarious identification. Let me give you an example. If you watch a movie on TV, it's a horror movie. So while you're watching the movie and you see that where the people are being killed or whatever the case is, you see somebody going towards that room, then you go, wait a minute, don't go in that room. Don't do it. Don't go there. And then you start moving in your seat and everything. Actually, it's just a movie. but you're looking at it, you're making an emotional investment in it, so vicariously, you're riding the roller coaster of suffering and enjoying, etc., etc. But asangohi anyam purushaha. Upanishads say that jivas never actually touches the material energy. They're not in the spiritual domain because they're not imbued with Swarup Shakti. This is the meaning of the word tatasta. Tatasta means a line of demarcation. Sta means to be situated there. So it's not a location. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it's called tatasta swabhav. It's a consciousness in the jiva where, not being imbued with the internal energy, they can be influenced by the external energy, and they're identifying with it. So you're identifying with the modes of nature, with happiness and distress, with adhyatmic, adibautic, adidivic miseries, etc. But in the soul itself, there is no misery. But that doesn't mean, because there's no misery in the soul, that the soul has praying for Krishna. You understand? They're two different things. Prema is not in the soul. Prema is something that is awarded to the soul. In the first canto, chapter 6, Narada Muni, when he's explaining his perfection to Vyasadeva, he says, Prayujamani Mahi Tvam, Sudim Bhagavatim Tanum. When all of my karmas were finished, I gave up the body of 5 elements. Prayuj, literally in Sanskrit, means Prakrishrupen Yuj, means completely bound to the spiritual energy. So when I was looking at this verse originally, I was like, why is the verse translated by our Srila Prabhupada and by all the acharyas as awarded? If prayuj means completely bound to Krishna, why is the word awarded uses? So then in Kram Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami, it's mentioned there, because without the mercy of Bhagavan, ultimately Radhika, nobody can get this praying for Krishna. So those jivas who've been in the material world, right, not literally connected to it, but by identification have been here, right, those jivas will be delivered by the Shristi Leela of Bhagavan. So Krishna will manifest his pastimes in this world, particularly to save those jivas. So in one sense, the entire sojourn in the material world is the greatest love story ever told. Because I was in this world, I was suffering, so to speak, this and that, but then Bhagavan sent his own agent to come and deliver me. Every single morning we sing, Sangsara Dava Navalidha Loka. In a very deep mood, we're saying to Guru, oh, you came and delivered me from samsara. How did you get Guru? Brahmanda Brahmati Kon Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. By the mercy of Krishna, Guru came and delivered you from this. And now you're falling in love with Bhagavan. Therefore, this Shristi Leela, the basis of it is the jivas in this world falling in love with Bhagavan. That's the real tale of this world, not suffering. The jivas are vicariously thinking they're suffering, but the material and the spiritual energy, they don't even touch. You understand? All of this is laid out in this 15th and 16th chapter of Jaiva Dharma. And these things about the nature of the Shakti, what kind of Shakti we are, you can read in Paramatma Sandarbha, beginning with Anuched 19. And it goes on to explain all about the jiva, their constitution, except, and why they think they're suffering, why they think they're in this world, etc., etc. And it also describes when, by the practice of bhakti, and bhakti becomes mature, then the spiritual energy called Swarup Shakti descends on the consciousness of the jiva. I'll explain this verse, and then if there's any further question, I'll try to answer. But when you practice bhakti, it goes in stages. First, there's Shraddha. When Shraddha comes, by the mercy of Bhagavan, through the form of a devotee, you approach a sadhu. You invest your faith in the sadhu. The sadhu teaches you how to do bhajan. This is called bhajana kriya. When you do bhajan, the kripa shakti of Bhagavan comes in the form of power to remove your anarthas. That stage is called anartha nivritti. You cannot remove your own anarthas. That's done by the kriya shakti of Krishna. When you devote yourself, surrender yourself, Krishna removes your anarthas. Then nischalaya yashati nishta. Your consciousness becomes steady and clear. When it becomes steady, tatat bhavadu more shruti dirapekshate. Ruchi comes onto your consciousness. So a taste in practicing bhakti, a taste in the goal of bhakti, all become dominant in your consciousness. When that becomes mature, it becomes asakti, an unquenchable thirst to obtain your goal. At that time, Radhika has mercy on the devotee. Asuda Sattva Viseshatma Prem Syang Samibat Ruchi Bishittamasunya Grisoba Bhuchite. They let the Swarup Shakti descend onto the consciousness. It takes over the consciousness and removes any vestige of false egoism, etc., etc. That stage is called Bhav. And then when you're in the stage of Bhav, you'll realize, actually, my always identity, my eternal identity is this. And you'll realize it beyond the influence of time. So this is called eternal. Sometimes devotees mistake what is the meaning of eternal. And they think it's like just forever time. But actually, eternal means beyond the modes of nature and beyond the influence of time. Like in Krishna's Leela, during the Damodar Bandhan Leela, when Mother Yashoda woke up in the morning, she saw Krishna's beautiful face. And when she was staring at Krishna's face, the sun refused to come up because it didn't want to disturb Mother Yashoda's darshan of Krishna at that time. So time has no influence in the spiritual world. That is the meaning of eternal. It's called Nityavatmanakal. It means beyond the influence of time. Understand? So that was a long explanation, but to explain, there's different Shaktis of Krishna. That Shakti of Krishna, which are also Jivas, they are not imbued with Swarup Shakti. Therefore, they're thinking themselves something other than the Das of Krishna. Krishna makes many incarnations in this world, and he also stays with the Jivas, the Paramatma, throughout all his sojourn in order to help that Jiva develop love for Krishna. So it is a love story. Just like when you meet someone, you don't instantly get married. You get to know them, you grow with them, so forth, so on. So this is the love story between the Jiva and Krishna. So it's another one of Krishna's Leelas.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Of course, this is beautiful.
Can I just say a word of thanks? Thank you very much. Can I just appreciate thank you very much. I'm
driving. Prabhu, your voice is not clear enough. Maybe if you may turn off your video, that might help.
Because I'm driving.
Be careful, Prabhuji. Yeah. And Varaha, Prabhu, you can always WhatsApp me and we can talk directly too.
Yeah.
I want you to be careful.
Anyway, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
All right. Just to say thanks. Prabhu, I was almost certain that you're going to quote make reference to Jaiva Dharma. I'm so fortunate. My Gurudev gave me 3 volumes of Jaiva Dharma. Apart from his books that he used to give me from time to time, he also handed over Jaiva Dharma study. So, and I was almost certain that you were going to make reference to this. So, thank you very much for your explanation. And unless somebody who has the understanding, deep understanding, and have read why, this kind of things can be mind-boggling. But thank you very much. I'm very much grateful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. And we have His Grace Shrivas Vanachari's hand raised. And Prabhuji, we're very thankful and appreciative to have your blessings and association here today. So please, you may unmute and go ahead to speak. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances on Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mukunda Prabhu. Your I will call them 2 doubts. I need some clarification. The first one is you mentioned that Mahatma Vidur met Uddhav, maybe in the purport somewhere, that they met on the banks of the Yamuna in Vrindavan. Could you clarify that?
Yes, it could be in 2 different Leela periods that is mentioned. And somewhere in this also commentary is mentioned that they met on the way, either coming from Prabhas, maybe it's coming from Prabhas, but or it is that they met leaving from Prabhas, they came to the bank of the Jamuna. But then it mentions that Maitreya Rishi also, he was situated not far from Prabhas after having heard the pastimes in the commentaries mentioned, having heard the Katha of Krishna during his Mosala Lila. In ending, he talked to Uddhava, he gave instructions to Arjun, etc. So Maitreya Rishi was nearby then and heard it. So this is where that has come from, that they were very near Prabhasetra. And Prabhasetra is northwestern India, I believe. Ishwar may know also, but whether they came from
It's just next to Gujarat.
yes, that's what I was thinking.
Next
But
to Gujarat.
Vidura may have also been coming from Braj, and maybe also mentioning the Jamuna. So I will look it up and look in the commentary as well.
Okay, thank you very much. This my second question is about love of God or Prem in the living entity. There is a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think Madhya Lila 22:107,
Nitya Siddha Krishna
where
Prem.
it says, "Yes, Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabu Nyaya Ravana Adi Shuddha Chite Karaye Udaya." That's right. The pure love of Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of all living entities. It is not something to be gained from any other source. When the heart is purified, hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. So, but I think in your delivery, you mentioned that the Nitya Bhadas, they don't have love of Godhead. Could you kindly expatiate on that?
Yes, this is a very deep history and a very deep thing. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when there was and Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself, when the Babaji community, for lack of a better word, not all Babajis are bad or something, but there was a time when there was the idea that the only way to get prem was to approach any Babaji, and the Babaji would give you Siddha Pranali, and in that way you would get your prem and your identity. To push back on that narrative, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, no, the potentiality of prem exists in every single jiva. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur continued that narrative, that yes, the potentiality of prem is already there in the jiva. Not the actual prem, the potentiality of the prem is there. Our Srila Prabhupada is in continuum of that narrative from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his own Gurudev, and it was a pushback against the idea of the Babaji saying, come to us, we will give you prem in the form of Siddha Pranali. Understand? But in the verse itself, when you read it, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Satya Kabu Noy, the Satya of Krishna Prem can't be obtained by your sadhana. Your sadhana is an invocation for mercy. Shravanam, so then it says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Satya Kabu Noy, Shravanadi Sudha Chitta Koryodoy. If you continue doing practice, then gradually the chitta becomes purified. And as the chitta becomes purified, it invokes the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And by their mercy, then Sudha Sattva descends. The Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Nitya Siddha means it's already established. So where is that Nitya Siddha Prem established? In the hearts of the Nitya Siddhas. Therefore, where will we get prem from? It descends from the heart of a particular associate whose mood we desire to serve as. So all of that has been explained in Sandarbhas and also in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.5.38, 2.5.38. The question arises, where does this prem come from? Where does a particular mood to serve Krishna come from? So Rupa Goswami answers the question. Yatottaram ashu ashwada viseshulashmayepi. So he's saying, where does a particular, viseshulash means where does a particular mood to love Krishna in a particular way, where does that come from? And Yatottaram, we've analyzed that though Madhurya Rasa is the highest Ras, why doesn't everybody just get that? Why is there different rasas? So where does that particular speciality come from? He answers in the second line, Raktis Vasanaya Swadi, Bashate Kapi Kasyatit. and then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on that verse, he says that the seed of bhakti in the jiva comes from the association of a pure devotee with that mood. Where else we find this? In Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mool Hoy. What's the last two words? Sadhu Sangha. So the genesis of bhakti is Sadhu Sangha. You understand? But what Bhaktivinoda Thakur was pushing back against was that they were trying to claim that the jivas were void of anything, even potential. The only way you could get prem is if you went to the Babaji and you surrendered. And then it wasn't all Babajis, it's those who were bogus, were claiming, oh, you have to come to us, we'll give you your Siddha. It's called Siddha Pranali. You understand? So to push back, he started this Bhaktisiddhanta in his commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Srila Prabhupada echoing that commentary of Bhaktisiddhanta. But that was the purpose. It wasn't to say, because if we had Krishna Prem in our, which means Swarup Shakti, in our Atma, right, then we would be realized souls. We couldn't be in Maya, because Maya and the pure energy of spiritual life, they don't go together. So if you have Prem, then you couldn't be in Maya. You understand? But the potential for Prem is there. So that's why Prabhupada says, don't think it comes from somewhere else, meaning don't think you have to go to a Babaji or something and get it. The potential for that is already there in the jiva, because constitutionally, every jiva nitya, what is this? Jivera Sarupoya Krishnera Nitya Das. Your dasatwa is an automatic potential for receiving Swarup Shakti and Krishna Prem in a particular mood. You understand? So that dasatwa is, everyone is constitutionally has that. The Babajis were saying, some Babajis, I'm not saying all, were saying that there's nothing in the jiva and that we give you Prem. And that was false. So this verse was in that line based on that history.
Thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the questions and the answers. There was a time that we tried. It was not very successful, but we tried to host this respectful, pleasant, timeless debate. The fall of the jiva, or the origin of the jiva. Some devotees were not very much interested. Some were. I was, and I still am. So maybe sometime we may try to arrange for this transcendental debate, because we cannot exhaust it in this particular sangha. And I see that is where it's going. I think Mother Gail still has something to ask. Please, you may unmute, Gail.
Hi, Krishna. Thank you. Well, now it's gone from one thing to two things. So just following up on this conversation, I think I know the answer to my question, but I just want to get confirmation anyway. So we as jivas are to touch the Shakti. So we can be imbued just as well by Maya Shakti as by Swarup Shakti, right? So why is it, since neither Shakti is inherent to the jiva, why is it that the jiva actualizes his fulfillment when imbued with Swarup Shakti rather than Maya Shakti, when neither of them are, inherent? I think of the analogy of a pen, the housing of a pen, which can, it can have a cartridge of blue ink or red ink. Whichever ink, is not going, the pen functions just as well, regardless of the color of the cartridge, right? So similarly, why are we more fulfilled?
The tie, that rim doesn't fit into our this thing.
Yeah, it's
I used to in front of
Oh, sorry.
oh, somebody's
Yes, that's a different.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, I think you got the gist of my question.
Yes, yeah. Actually, your questions are very amazing, very wonderful. So there is a distinction. The Maya Shakti has no actual resonance with the Jiva. Just like if you take a magnet and you turn it in the opposite polarities and you try to put it together, it will repel.
Mm-hmm.
But Swarup Shakti, this was part of Pujapat Srivas Prabhu's question. There is a natural resonance with the Swarup Shakti because the Jivas themselves are Satchit Ananda. So the Jivas actually by nature are Das of Krishna. Jiva Goswami told, Dasa Bhuti Harieva, Nanyasha Eva Karachan. You cannot be something but the Das of Krishna. That Dasatwa is a natural resonance with Swarup Shakti. Swarup Shakti is not present there, but it's got a natural resonance with Swarup Shakti. So when we take to the practice of bhakti, first by influence, it's called prabhav, Swarup Shakti exerts an influence on the jiva. Then the jivas gradually
Can you say that last line again?
Yes. So because we're the Das of Krishna by constitution, and many times when Srila Prabhupada spoke, he spoke from this constitutional position. Like when you hear the very famous tape of the Hare Krishna mantra, and Srila Prabhupada says, we are all originally Krishna conscious persons. So we take the word original to mean a historical context, but actually this is an ontological context.
Yes, I know that.
That by nature we are Das of Krishna. Because we're the Das of Krishna, we have a natural relationship with Swarup Shakti, right? But that Swarup Shakti is simply absent during our sojourn in the material energy.
Okay, before you continue, Prabhu, I have to get clarification right here because when I think of Swarup Shakti, I think of Satchidananda, right?
They're different.
But they're okay, and that's where that's why I'm getting fuzzy because what is that difference?
Yes. So Sat Chit Ananda is existence, cognition and potentiality, and bliss and potentiality. So I'll give you an example. Even those who are impersonalists, like Brahmavadis, they can realize that they're not the body. And when they realize they're not the body, they will enter into the position called Atma Ananda or Brahmananda.
Yes.
Does that mean they have a relationship of a cowherd boy, a gopi, anything with Krishna?
No.
But they also realize they're not the body.
Yes.
So the uncovering of Maya reveals the nature of the soul. The nature of the soul is Satchidananda. So they will experience Ananda of the Atma because the Atma has no misery. When they realize Brahman, they'll experience Brahmananda, the happiness of being associated with the energy of Krishna. You understand? But they will not realize I am a cowherd boy, I'm in a parental mood or this mood. That's specific to the descent of Swarup Shakti. Therefore, Krishna tells, Nam Prakasha Savasha Yog Maya Samavrita. I reserve the right to be hidden. So therefore, even those who are Brahmavadis, Mayavadis, Atmanandis, Nirvisheshvadis, they can also realize they're not the body. But they'll never realize that they have a relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world. It's not automatic or automatic that as soon as you remove Maya, there I am as a cowherd boy or something. That comes from the special gift of bhakti, which is imbued with Sandini, Landini, and Samvit. Sandini means existence potency in the spiritual realm based on serving Krishna. Ladini is the special bliss that is actually Radharani herself. Let me explain the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is Prem? Ladini Sada Prem. Prem Sada Bhav. In other words, the Ladini Vritti of Swarup Shakti is Prem itself. That Prem is a Bhav, it's a mood. Paramakasta Mahabhav. The highest form of this Bhav is called Mahabhav. Mahabhav Swarupini Shri Radha Thakurani. So the Ladini Shakti is actually Radha herself who gives the jiva, when they want to serve Krishna, the ability to serve Krishna in a cowherd mood, in Vatsalya Rasa, but particularly in the mood of Madhurya Rasa, but particularly in the mood of Manjari Bhav. Because the mood of serving Radhika's Prem is what's eligible for the jivas who want Madhurya Rasa. We cannot become like Lalita, Visakha, or Radhika, etc. We can serve them. So that mood is given by Radhika. So that's not an axiomatic or automatic feature of just simply becoming liberated from the material world. And it's there lying in the constitution of the Atma. If
Yes.
the Atma will pick up the practice of bhakti, it invokes the mercy where that particular function of Shakti, Samvit, Sandhini, and Aladini. Because what the Sandhini Shakti does is it gives you a body to serve Radha and Krishna. Those who merge into Brahman, do they have a body to serve Krishna?
No.
Are they also experiencing bliss, however?
Yeah, Brahmanandi, right?
Yes. So it's not an automatic thing that when the soul is free from material energy, it means that you have Krishna praying.
Right. But I still want to understand is there a direct connection between Sat, Chit, and Ananda and Hladini, Samvit?
Yes.
There is a connection.
Yeah, there is a connection, but that's what I'm saying. Because the jivas are composed of Satchitananda, they're in a natural position to become bound to Sandhini, Samvit, and Aladini.
Yeah,
Naturally.
like for example, Hladini maps with
Ananda.
Ananda and
Samvit,
Samvit with
Chit,
Chit, right? And
Sandhini,
then,
Sandhini with Sat. When the jiva is imbued with that and those match, like I was talking about Narito, Prayujamani Mahitwam Sudam Bhagavatim Tanum. I received a transcendental body suitable to serve Krishna that was imbued with Swarup Shakti. And it says in the commentary, Prayujamani iti niyamane. So the word niyamani means he was awarded that. So awarded means he was given that by the mercy of Bhagavan.
I know, but I'm asking because as a soul, right? I integral to my existence is this quality of chit. So what does that my chit have to do with receiving that body?
The capability. In other words, you have a capability to understand Krishna up to the point of serving the prem of Radhika.
Okay, so
soul
then
has that potentiality.
Okay, so then therefore Sat, Chit, and Ananda, they are what gives the potential for receiving, like for example,
Yes.
Chit, it gives me the potential for receiving Samvit.
Samvit Shakti, yes.
And Ananda gives me the potential for receiving Hladini.
Yes, and that's all
how
because
it
of
works.
the Das of Krishna by Constitution. Yes. All of this is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, also of Rupa Goswami Pad. And Al Srila Prabhupada has also explained it. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these things, especially in Ramananda Samvad, Madhya-lila chapter 8. He goes through all these details.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mother Gail and Shri Mukunda Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, I don't get my last question.
The patience and the love. I would humbly.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
Hold on one second.
It's so
Gail,
quick.
what I do is, Gail,
It's just
you
a
can
real quick thing. So quick.
Okay,
hold on, Mother Gail. I would
get my information from Sahadev, and you can always directly contact me. I'll answer unlimitedly.
Yes. I would like to.
Sahadev from
Hare Krishna.
Please, if you could permit me.
Yeah.
I want to reference the answer Prabhu gave to Srivas Vanacharya's question. And if you could just give me the opportunity, because it's a very important question, and it relates to a verse that I'm trying to clarify. If you can bring out Bhagavatam 7:532.
7:532.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello.
Hold on, sorry. Please mute yourself if you are not speaking. 7:532, is that what you said?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. All right, we have it up here.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu. Mukunda Prabhu, thank you very much for this wonderful class. And I think this is the beauty of having senior devotees to come on this platform to speak and clarify so many things. The questions
Somebody needs to be muted, though.
Your answer you gave in relation to this verse, I would like you to give a little expansion on that. The verse.
The verse here, 7:532.
Yes, 7:532.
Okay.
Unless they smear upon their bodies because of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava completely freed from material contaminations. Persons very much inclined to materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord.
Yes, Prabhuji. This is a very good verse, Prabhu. You picked. Very excellent verse. So this is a big answer to Srivas Prabhu's question, actually, that you pulled up. So it's saying that the way that we will get bhakti coming from the position of being conditioned souls is that we'll have to come in contact with a pure devotee. And by saying Mahisham Pado Rajabhishekam, it means we'll have to do saranagati to that kind of devotee. What kind is Kinchananam Ya Navritta Yadvat, who has no material desire, has no self-interest other than pure bhakti. By getting their mercy, we will come on the path in order to get that kind of pure praise. So very good verse that you brought up. Yeah, and if you look at Srila Prabhupada's purport, he's mentioning all that. Not by learning, not by scholarship, not by anything you could get this pure bhakti, only by the mercy of pure Vaishnavas. Like, we can look at our own example. Would any of us even be talking about this if it was not for Srila Prabhupada coming? This would not be a conversation for us if Srila Prabhupada did not come. So, but Bhagavad Gita, was it available in America before Prabhupada came? Even Srimad Bhagavatam was here before Prabhupada came. You could go to the Library of Congress in DC. They have the actual Sanskrit translations of Bhagavatams with commentaries. But until Srila Prabhupada came, none of that came to fruit. So this verse is so important. Wonderful verse, Prabhuji. Wonderful verse. Because it points out the genesis of where bhakti comes from. Like Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoy, Sadhu Sangha. It's generated by this kind of sadhu. That's why Rupa Goswami's first instruction was Guru Padasrai. Take shelter of sadhu. And by the way, guru is the function, sadhu is the person. Because if a person thinks I am guru, it's called Guru Abhiman, and they're not guru. So guru is a function. Gu Shabdat Andakarasha, Ru Shabdat Andakashani Rodita. A sadhu is doing that seva called guru. Because if you think you're guru, then that becomes a problem. Understand? You're doing a seva on behalf of Parampara and Krishna to give to conditioned souls by removing the darkness of their lack of knowledge about Krishna. Understand? Very good verse, Prabhuji. Very good. So this verse can be used also in the Praman of describing how you get this Krishna praying. So for Gail also, this is very helpful, this verse.
Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Sri Salika Prabhu kind of interrupted me, but it was a very beautiful interruption because Prabhuji is affirming the importance and the relevance of the verse that Salika Prabhu offered, shared with us. But what I was going to say is that I would humbly suggest to devotees that we stay away from this topic at this moment because it's such a broad topic that we cannot exhaust it, if ever. And what to speak of this particular moment, we've been here for close to 2 hours.
Oh,
so
yes.
We cannot continue on this particular theme. But I believe that at some point we could have a very matured debate, discussion on the origin of the soul, which I would be gladly take the position of the part of the proofs that the soul came from the spiritual world. I'll be interested to be in that team. Ishwara Prabhu has his hand up, Arichakra Prabhu has his hand up, but Arichakra Prabhu, I will humbly request that we let Ishara Prabhu speak because of his time. It's quite late his time, and he probably wants to ask and then go back to sleep before he waits for Mangarati. So, Adichakra Prabhu, my obeisances will go to Ishara Prabhu. Please, Ishara Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Yeah, okay, I've already omitted. So it's nice, wonderful that we have Mukunda Prabhu on tonight. And hopefully this will continue every month, hopefully. Actually, I was just thinking of when yesterday, when he requested Ganeshji to come and write down the Mahabharata, when he was starting the Mahabharata. So that time, and Ganeshji replied that, well, I will write down as long as you don't stop speaking. Then I will write down. So that time, the yesterday is okay. And then yesterday we composed a verse so deep that Ganeshji will have to think about it before you write down. And while Ganeshji is thinking about it, then yesterday will be composing another one. So similarly tonight, you can see the Mukunda Prabhu is speaking. Actually, his talk is not really that simple. It's kind of elevated talk, actually, as a matter of fact. So which means all of us who are hearing tonight, that it requires a deep reflection of what he has been saying so that then you can digest it. And when it's properly understood, then you can go to the next. Okay, what is the next? What is the next? So, so that is that's just the effects. A lot of wonderful talks about especially the beginning of the talk, which talks about the 6 ways of understanding the search of scriptures, which is actually coming from Jiva Goswami in the Paramatma Sandarbha. So anyway, and as devotee, we have a lot to learn, and there's never any limit to how much we understand. There's just no limit to it. No limit. If there's no such thing, okay, that I've understood everything, so therefore I don't have to learn anymore. No, if you think that we've understood everything, we don't have to learn anymore, that is Maya. Krishna is unlimited. So how can we understand with our limited capability? How can we know who is unlimited? Krishna is unlimited. So therefore, this Bhagavad Gita is so vast, it's not limited. And the more we hear from the sadhus, we hear from the Guru Sadhu Sasha, then the more revelation will come. So that's the beauty part of it.
Yeah.
So that's just my little comments.
Yeah, it's been very good seeing you as usual, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Ishara Prabhu. Harichakra Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Just that we look forward to see you in Vrindavan.
Yes.
Cannot wait.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo,
Hare
Prabhu.
Dandava Pranam.
Dandavad.
Mukunda Prabhu. All glories to you, all glories to Gurudev, and all glories to Prabhupada, and all glories to the assembled devotees. Well, my question was going to be in the line of the answer you gave to Srivas Vanachari's question. But like I said, usually when I ask questions, when there is a deliberation like this, I always want to get the explanation as if I am a 6-year-old boy, because I know the Vedic literature has so deeper things that whoever speaks, if I ask a question, I usually want the answer to be explained to me as if I'm a 6-year-old boy. That when I meet another person, I can also use that my little intelligence to explain, make it clear. Yeah. So, but Sahadev Prabhu had already said that that topic should be left alone until the time that he brings it up again. Other than that, I would have gone ahead to ask my question. Unless Sahadev unless Sahadev agrees that I go ahead and ask my question,
Well,
then I will.
you go ahead.
That is-
I believe you may be the last person to ask questions, so go ahead. If Prabhuji still has some time for us, Shri Mukunda Prabhu.
Yes, there's no problem. If
Okay.
you want, also Sahadev Prabhuji,
Yes.
if you want to have a separate forum any day, I know you can get with your team.
Yeah.
And I was a little confused because I wasn't understanding. But the origin of the jiva and the nature of bhakti being inherent or not, they're like two different subjects actually.
Yeah.
But if you want to have a separate forum to discuss the origin of the jiva or something, then I would be happy to come on. Yeah.
Prabhuji, that's beautiful. Yes.
Okay.
We can look into that.
Okay.
Yes. We can look into that. Also, Shri Chakra Prabhu, please, you may go ahead.
Mhm.
Yeah. My question was in line of, we know that when Prabhu was speaking, he talked about eternity, and he was relating eternity in relationship to time.
Yeah.
That when we speak of eternity, is where a system where time doesn't have influence
Yes.
is what is termed as eternity.
Yes.
But as immediately time begins to have influence, then it ceases to be eternal. That particular thing ceases to be eternal. Right. Okay, now on the basic, like I said, I'm just asking this question and I want my answer like as if I'm a 6-year-old boy. On the basis of Balaram, we know Balaram is also eternal. Balaram and Balaram is an expansion of Krishna, right? So in my little way of understanding, like as we go back, the scripture is explaining that Balaram expanded from Krishna, even though we know Balaram has been existing since time immemorial. But it was given, the scripture is giving us the basic understanding of how everything started to come into being. And so he said Balaram comes out of Krishna. And the 4 Narayan forms also came out of Balaram, like the Chaturvya. In this way, gradually everything was being expanded. Now, the same scripture is telling us that we, the Jivas, we are part and parcel of God, because originally there was nothing in existence. We were all part of Krishna, and he began to expand us out. But we are just an insignificant portion of him. And because of that, we have some minute independence. So my first question is, those who are said to be Nitya Siddhis, do they have that independence?
Yes, it's
that minute independence, do they have it?
Yes, but their independence works under the influence of prem. So this has been explained by Rupa Goswami. Savata Danksa Rahitam Yad Api Danksa Karane Yad Bhava Bandhano Yuno Prema Parikirtita. Jiva Goswami gave several definitions of the word love. When there is love, the very nature of it is Savata Danksa Rahitam. It can never be broken. Then he says, Yad Api. But what happens if there's a cause for the love to break? He says, even then, the love does not break, but rather Yad Bhava Bandhana Yuno. It makes the lover and beloved stronger. So those who are Nitya Siddha, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, they are always absorbed in that prem. That prem is not breakable. So being absorbed in that prem, they have the free will to love, serve in various ways, but all couched in exercising free will under the influence of prem. Understand? The jivas in this world, they also have minute free will, but that free will is meant for the same purpose, which is to serve Bhagavan. But due to not being imbued with Swarup Shakti, they're exercising the free will in relation to the influence of the external energy. That's why the Bhagavad Gita is telling Prakriti Kriya Monani Gunai Kamani Savasha Ahamkara Vimudatma Kartamiti Manyate. We think we are doing, but actually what we're doing in the material world is being carried out by false egoism. That false egoism is nourishing the particular false identity we have. My name is John Doe. I'm in the material world. I'm born in this family, etc. You understand? So now, when the spiritual influence of prema is there, false egoism cannot be there. So only those jivas who are not imbued with Swarup Shakti can have the experience of being related to or tied to a false egoism. Also, in the spiritual world, the first verse of Bhagavatam is also mentioning Damna Swena Sada Nirastam Kuhakam. That abode is worthy to be meditated upon because it is ever free. Sada means always free. Nirastam Kuhakam, from illusion. So the expression in that world of free will is only exercised in praying. No alternative thought will come. Just like for us, we want pure bhakti, which is anya abhilasita sunyam, devoid of any other consideration than loving God. That's what we're trying to get. The Nitya Siddhas have that.
Okay, yeah. So I perfectly understand from that angle. So in that case, the Nitya Siddhas can even come in contact in the material atmosphere, and they will still have the prem.
Only if a Nitya Siddha comes, like our Srila Prabhupada descends to this world, he's actually never by consciousness, he's entering into Goa Lila. He's not really entering into the material world. When our acharyas come, they're entering into a Lila of Krishna. So they're not coming in the material world under the influence of Maya. They are still under the influence of the Yogmaya Shakti. So now, for instance, I'm giving an example. Rupa Goswami comes to this world. In the Vrindavan pastimes, he's Rupa Manjari. When he comes to this world, he's Rupa Goswami in Gaur's Lila. So he has not descended to the mundane material world in execution of his own agenda for his own self-interest. He's come as an agency of Bhagavan in Gaur Lila. Understand? So they don't come to the material world. The jivas also here, they are part of, and this may be more suitable for a forum we may have to discuss. Because in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 20, this is also mentioned there. The affiliation of the jivas with avidya, means ignorance, is anadikal. Jiva Goswami and Tattva Sandarbha has explained what does anadi mean. It means something that has no beginning, but it has an end. So this is very important. You understand? That's something that has no beginning, but has an end. So Al Srila Prabhupada, because that is a difficult ontological conception, he used the narrative of time immemorial. That is just beyond our memory. You understand? But for instance, I'll give you an example. In the Krishna book, chapter 28, Srila Prabhupada describes that when the jiva becomes perfected and they obtain their spiritual maturation, they'll go to wherever Krishna is performing his pastimes within the material universes, and they will see Krishna face to face for the first time. So this kind of erases an idea that previously having seen Krishna and come here. Because he's saying there, you'll see Krishna for the first time when you become spiritually mature and attain your perfection. So like this, but of course we have to do everything by Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra. So on the forum, we can bring all the information of Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra. Because you got to think, Srila Prabhupada was genius. When Srila Prabhupada came to the Western world, if he had talked about Jiva Goswami and Nadikal, who's going to understand that? But we were all involved in Christianity or familiar with Christianity. So the idea of a fall from grace and a repentance is naturally digestible for us. And because that particular issue is not crux to developing pure love for God, Prabhupada could couch in the narrative the idea of falling, becoming repentant, and going back. Because that was digestible and people could take up the practice of bhakti. So even whether a person ever really understands the Siddhanta on this is not crux to getting bhakti. Bhakti will not come because I'm not clear on the Siddhanta about the jiva's origin. But if you're a preacher, you should go to Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra and be Siddhantically clear. The acharyas speak in 4 different ways. One is a narrative, one is a history, one is ontology. Ontology means to describe how something works. Like I think Hari Chakra just mentioned with Balaram. he is the Vaibhav Prakash of Krishna. He's an expansion of Krishna. So when it says he manifested from Krishna, there is no time when that happened. So this is called an ontological description of something to show how it works. Understand? So it's not a history. So also they speak Siddhanta. So you have narrative, history, ontology, and Siddhanta. Siddhanta can be spoken in two ways, according to Tattva and according to Rasa. So I'm giving an example. In Tattva, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is God. In another case, is Krishna God to Mother Yashoda?
No.
So you understand? So even if you're speaking Siddhanta, it will depend on whether you're speaking Tattva Gata Vichar or Rasa Gata Vichar. Because if you're speaking according to Rasa, Krishna can't even pick up the shoes of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna can't get down from the bed when Mother Yashoda leaves him there. Mother Yashoda can bind him up to a grinding mortar. The gopis can say all kinds of bad things to Krishna. Radhika can order Krishna, come and braid my hair, come and paint my feet. You understand?
Yeah.
So these are the ways that acharyas speak. Narrative, like Srila Prabhupada or like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they can tell a narrative which helps people to understand a certain point. Or ontology, or history rather. History is like the story that Narada Muni tells to Maharaj Prachina Bharti to explain the soul. So he tells him an allegorical story. That's a narrative also. History is like Mahabharata, where things are happening, but they have some relevance to explaining bhakti. Ontology is like what Hari Chakra Prabhu pointed out, understanding how the expansions of Krishna works. It's spoken in an ontology. Then there's the Siddhant, which I just described. So we have to be able to discern when the acharya is speaking, what mode are they speaking in? That'll help you to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Prabhu, thank you. Thank you very much for the explanation. But I was trying to build up my question. So, like you said that, like the example is like what Balaram's expansion is described, is the ontology part of it that describes the expansion of Balaram.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so my question is, be you a jiva, be you all the jivas that expanded from Krishna. When we speak of the ontology, where is our source?
Yeah, the jivas, they expand actually in this world. Each set of jivas span from different places. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has made this statement. Those jivas who are Nitya Siddha in Goloka Vrindavan, they expand from two sources, from Balaram or from Radhika, if their Kaya Vyuha means expansions of Radhika or the Shakti Tattva. Those who are in Vaikuntha expand from Shankarashan. Those jivas in the material world, Jiva Goswami wrote in Paramatma Sandarbha, Paramaika Seshitva, they expand from Paramatma. So, you understand? So they're expansions of the Paramatma in this world. They're called Paramaika Seshitva.
All right. Hare Krishna. Yes. Ishara Prabhu.
I'm sorry. I'm at work and now I'm called on duty. So
yeah, it's okay.
Maybe.
I think it's Krishna's plan that you're called on.
Very good question.
Yeah. Ishara Prabhu is falling out.
Yes, it's late.
Yes, it's late his time. We thank you so much, Prabhuji, for staying up with us. And we hope to have your association again very soon. Well, we would like to bring this transcendental katha to a close. And I suggested that we put an end to this theme because it is such a very broad and tantalizing topic that everybody would want to know what is it. But one beautiful thing about the scriptures is that the scriptures deal with Krishna, and Krishna himself is the sweetest, yet whenever he stands in a very crooked manner. So the scriptures has so many different angles to understanding one particular statement made. So there is what appears to be like an apparent contradiction, but actually there are no contradictions. So in ISKCON, there are some devotees who think that all souls originated from the spiritual world, from Krishna's world, and that Krishna Prema is inherent. Some devotees in ISKCON don't accept those. It all requires that intellectually, devotionally, respectfully, we discuss these different information given to us from the various scriptures. And so by Sri Guru Krishna's grace, we're going to try to arrange for such Sangha. And when we do, of course, we're going to do that with utmost respect, because it is not like one school says we all fell from the spiritual world. One school says we never did. It is all over, every school, every Vedic tradition, we have different people holding different parts of whether we fell or we did not fall. So one should not think that, oh, ISKCON says this school of thought says that. That is not the case. Both a realization or recognition is in all schools of thought. With that being said, Shrivas Dasvanachari, we're very grateful you are here. Do you have something to say before we go to our precious speaker to give his concluding statement or remark? Shrivas Prabhu, you have something to say? I see he's busy talking.
He may be multitasking.
Yeah, it seems he's not hearing me.
Yeah, he's engaged something.
Yeah. Well, Shriman Mukunda Prabhu, of course, we cannot thank you enough, but I would humbly suggest and request that you make some concluding remark to this Sangha, to this Katha today, and then we'll bring this to a final close. Please.
I think so much has already been said, but I would think that the most important takeaways from here are to be so grateful and so thankful that we've come in contact with Sadhguru. And having come in contact with Sadhguru, we now have even the ability to discuss such things. You have to think there's 9 billion people in the world, and among those 9 billion people, how many are even having this kind of discussion? So we are all blessed that we're in the family of Sri Sachinandan Gaurahari, Mahaprabhu. So really, in one sense, there's not so many different groups. There's only the family of Mahaprabhu. And there's all individual devotees. And according to that devotee's maturity and adhikar, they're doing their best to obtain prema bhakti. So we all nourish each other. Even when there's different points of view, those points of view help to nourish and stimulate growth in bhakti. So we should always be respectful, and also Trinadapi Sunich, also very humble. Because really the most important thing is to get bhakti. So even on controversial issues, Srila Prabhupada, especially on this issue, mentioned one time, it's not really that important. Because the most important thing will be if you are obtaining bhakti or not. If you are having taste in your Harinam and in hearing Harikatha. If you're genuinely growing in bhakti and you're getting realization. So these things are more prominent than those things which may be, as you mentioned, apparent contradiction. So we want to pursue those things more deeply, especially this is Chaturmas. These 4 months are meant to be dedicated in a very deep way to pursuit of our goal of getting prema bhakti. Yeah. So I'm also always praying to Guru Gauranga and to all the Vaishnavas to please give me your mercy that I can do Sadhan Bhajan and try to do some service to our Guru Vargas, and of course myself realize something. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Rama Hare Hare.
Well, Hare Krishna.
Also, sometimes the devotees, if they have a question, they can have my personal contact. You have it, so yes. You can be a medium. I don't mind if people have my contact on WhatsApp. Facebook Messenger is better if you have a lot of questions, because I can speak the answers rather than typing. because I have a lot of questions that come every day. So, but everybody's welcome to have, and we can have dialogue. I'm always appreciative of Devotees Association.
Oh,
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
okay.
So, devotees, we cannot thank you all enough for your participation and being here with us. We've been here for 2 hours, 18 minutes to be precise. And everybody has been so rapt attentive. And we pray that Shri Guru and Krishna will give us this opportunity and blessings to constantly hear about the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees, and more especially hearing their glories from their servant. Shri Mukunda Prabhu, you said something that very much reminded me of my Gurudev, because you were praying for the blessings of the devotees. And I said, you made me a devotee. Who am I to do whatever? And my Gurudev used to say that I do not want to be the same person as I was yesterday. And I used to think to myself, you're already up there. What else? But there is always room for improvement. There is always room for higher progress. So we're all learning to be humble. And like Salika Prabhu says, Ishwara Prabhu also said the same thing. We cannot know everything about Krishna. So that in itself should make us humble to want to learn. And with this, following our routine rituals, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all, with one voice, out of love of Shri Guru Katha, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest gratitude and appreciation to our great speaker, His Grace SRIMAN Mukunda Prabhu, for sharing his love and wisdom with us today. Please, you may all unmute, Jai. Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama,
Hare Hare,
Panchakarpata Rubhyata Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Praise Mukunda Prabhu ki
Jai Shri Krishna, Hari Hari Bol, Jai Jai Jai, Hari Hari Bol,
Hare
Hare
Mukunda
Krishna,
Brahman, Mukunda Prabhu ki jai.
Jai
His
Jai
confounder
Jai,
Charles
Hari Hari
Prabhupada
Bol,
ki jai.
Krishna.
All
Jai.
glory